We just sat through a very interesting panel discussion where we talked about tapping the capital markets in the region. So what do you think are the opportunities that are available here?
Well, I think we're in Saudi at the moment, so I think one of the big opportunities here is the diversification that's going to happen. If you look at where oil is, governments around the region traditionally have supported infrastructure build, strategies with oil money, and we're at a stage now where governments can't afford to do that. So for the private enterprise, that's a huge opportunity. So we're going to see a shift from government-led initiatives more to private-led initiatives, or joint between government and private. So I think there's a huge opportunity there for the private sector to be a lot more actively involved in business, and that will create, I think, lots of jobs in SMEs and supply chains coming through into that infrastructure that's necessary.
What do you think are the hindrances? What's stopping or could be challenges for the private sector?
I think one of the challenges is going to be the pure size of some of the infrastructure that's needed to be built. So taking that risk for big bets on some of that infrastructure that's necessary for the region. So I think that's certainly a risk for individual companies as to can they raise the capital. But I think one of the things that we have seen is the stock markets are far deeper than they have been historically, and the debt capital markets are far deeper. So we're seeing a lot of international interest in the debt side, investing into sukuks within the region. We're getting 3-4 times oversubscription for most sukuks. So there's a lot of instruments that I think that companies can now use to match the tenor of the projects. Coming to banks for infrastructure financing is going to become more difficult as we go forward, because with Basel III, with IFRS 9, the capital implications of very long-term infrastructure are quite punitive towards it. So we're going to need to develop the debt capital markets a lot more than we currently have as well as we move forward. Certainly for international investors, what they're looking for is good regulation, accounting standards that are pretty similar right across the world. So they're international investors, right? So they want to see everything similar. So the same accounting standards, the same governance principles. But as importantly, they want to see what if it goes wrong? What if that individual, that company that's put out that sukuk fails? Do we have the legal security to actually try to get some money back out of that sukuk? So I think certainly one of the things that we can improve on, I think, is what happens if it goes wrong. Giving better, I think, investor security around the legal system and the pace of the legal system if it does go wrong.
Okay, when do you expect, or how far away are we, do you think, from full confidence of the international markets in our?
Well, I think it's pretty good at the moment. If you look at most of the sukuk issuances are heavily oversubscribed, and a lot of that's coming from overseas. So people are getting very familiar with the region, the overseas investors, and it's up to banks and investment banks like ourselves to also build that distribution network overseas. So it's unless you've got offices overseas in the Hong Kongs, the Singapores, etc., the European offices, you've got to build those relationships with those investors, and they need to trust you as well as advisors and as issuers.
How's your operation in Saudi doing for you?
Very well. We've just got 3 new licenses, so we're very happy. I think we're the first bank to get some additional licenses. We've got Khobar, Riyadh, and another branch in Jeddah coming up. We've been here 10 years. We've got over 200 people here now. We're pretty excited because it's given us 2 new cities, important cities for us, and hopefully it's the start of an even greater expansion for us.
Well, best of luck.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Cheers.
You.